Hello, everyone. Welcome back to SABADO Sessions podcast. This is Talk of the Week without India mode to start off with, but yeah. So this week's episode, we've got a few interesting topics in mind. Espen, crack us in, bro.
So yeah, there's two. All right, cool. So the first one is, do coaches actually, yeah, do coaches need to lift or be competitive to coach competitive lifters? Quite a good
I
question, that one,
mean,
to be honest with
I
you.
mean, this question reminded me of Sir Alex Ferguson. Was he a good player? No.
No.
I thought that was a question to us, bro.
No, that was
Was he a good
you know,
player, bro? I
you know,
don't know. I wasn't alive then.
hello, and was Mourinho a good player?
Mm.
No. Right. These are very important questions, so people should think about. But at the same time, I got what you mean. Should a coach be a good or lifter to coach a competitive lifter? To me, I mean, Joey's my coach, right? Everyone knows. When Joey write me a program, one of the things I've always had to Joey, if I don't like something, I always say to Joey, have you done this yourself?
Yeah, he does. He does say that a lot, but
You
then
know what I mean? You know,
Is is there anything you've seen in your program that you've never seen Joey do, and you question like, why am I doing it then?
double point squat.
but then when
Double
I
pull squat.
when I gave you the
Yeah.
reasoning as to why, you understood why.
Yeah, I understood why because that's what I needed. But the thing is that Joe is a lifter himself as well. He's a high level caliber lifter. So when he does some certain thing for me, and I'm thinking, oh, why are you not doing it yourself? Why don't you do it like for a week? And then if you like it, and then you put in my program, you know what I mean? So
Mm.
yeah, but to really like jokes aside on that question, it's all depend about. To me, I believe it's all about depend about how much knowledge the coach has in terms of like how much they're willing to almost like share with the lifter, because it's not just about you writing numbers and telling me what to do. You need to share your experience and the knowledge with me. How much are they willing? How much they have, and how much they're willing to share. But again, for a younger lifter, is a different story. So when we say elite lifter, does not just mean being old and being doing this sport for many years. To me, an elite lifter is anyone that almost competing with the world best.
Hmm.
You could be young or you could be old. To me, that's an elite lifter because they're strong and all of that. So, but the way they perceive coaching from people is different from the way I would perceive coaching. Because me, I'm more than happy to be coached by someone that is not an elite, well, that is not a good lifter, or that is not even a national level lifter. I'm more than happy to be coached by that person because what I'm seeking is not about your experience on the platform, right? What
Mm.
I'm seeking is your knowledge around the sport and everything else, the mechanism around the sport and everything I do. That's what I'm seeking for. But other people, they will judge you by how much you've done on the platform. We have got tons of example in this country where some of the best coaches, so-called the best coaches in this country, are shit lifters. No offense to them, but they're really not good lifters, but they are good coaches. So it's like it's a yes and no thing for me there. All
Let me throw a
depend
little.
on the lifter.
I'll throw a little spanner in the works here as well. What
Mm-hmm.
about coaches? Well, I'll throw two in. The first one's going to
Mm-hmm.
be coaches that have only competed once and then start doing online coaching or face-to-face coaching.
I think to me, those coaches they should probably go Sainsbury and find themselves a part-time job, right? So because competing once for you to start selling programming does not give you enough insight or enough knowledge. You know what? I think I had this conversation with Joey like a year or two ago. I said to Joey, is every power lifter, any man that held the barbell become a coach nowadays? Because that's where the trend is going nowadays. Look at all these kids. Everyone they want to sell programming. Some people are even selling it for free. And some people are going like, oh yeah, follow my Instagram. I'm gonna give you a 10-week program for free. And I'm thinking about, nigga, are you dumb or what? Is it because I think what has made this sport like that is because the sport is so easy for anybody to get access to, and
Mm.
these kids and everybody believe I'm just going to write something on a piece of paper, and then people will listen to it, and people will follow it, and then I'll call myself coach. Do you know what a coach does? Because the notion of coaching, do people actually understand what a coach does? That's the question to me. Do you guys believe? Let me ask you this, Espen. Do you guys believe many of these lifters we have in the UK actually understand the role of a coach into the lifting careers?
No. No.
Joey?
No. My answer to Espen's original question was that no, you don't have to be an elite lifter. It's more the problem I have, in my opinion. Well, this is just me. Is when newer lifters come in thinking that elite lifters will make an excellent coach.
Yeah.
Because that may not always be the case, because most elite lifters, not all, but most elite lifters are fixated on what works for them, and whereby we all know this, like when it comes to coaching different individuals, it's not a one size fits all sort of approach. So you know, there's a tendency for like these coaches to be very, I don't want to say it, but like the whole copy and paste sort of like approach, not just like with all the lifters, but from what they do in their training to what they give to their lifters, if that makes sense. So if, say for example, Espen, what might work for you is that you work well doing RP9 for a double and then a back off with sevens, right? And then they'll implement the same to their lifters, but then, you know, they at the beginning they may not have the conditioning for it, and they're just there getting hurt, and you know, they having to ask their coaches as to why that's happening, and then obviously the relationship could just go off. But that being said, those that with no platform experience as a competitor, but know the sport ins and out, which technically what you would like from a good coach is like they know the rules, they know how competitions function, and everything else. That's very important. But as well as that, what makes a good coach is understanding what the lifter wants and as to why they even started the sport, I guess, in the first place, which could potentially change in the long run, but definitely a good understanding of what the lifter wants. It can't just be, oh, why do you want to do powerlifting? Or because I want to get strong. But strong is quite subjective, so you know, you have to attach goals to why you want that specific coaching, and each coach, you know, offers a different kind of service. Like there are those that are very just like, do this, that's it, and then there are those that have a, you know, give a more hands-on approach, and then there's those that are very much in between, that are quite hands-on to those that need to be a bit more hands-on, and those that are quite like, you know what, let me just leave you to it, and you know, whatever you feed me back, I'll respond to that sort of thing.
No, that's true. I think also you can also tell who's a great, not great coach, but just a good coach in general when there's tweaks that need to be made. And when I mean by tweaks, I mean as in, let's just say throughout the week, you pick up a little niggle, right? Like something happens, I don't know, like something in your chest or your bicep or your calf, whatever. And you tell your coach. It's the coach's responsibility.
External factors too.
Oh yeah,
take
of
into
course.
account
Like,
external factors. I mean, Durance can attest for this. Like, you know, external factors that he's had to pretty much face along the years, I've had to take into account, and I just had to respond with whatever I can do and whatever what's been agreed upon. I mean, there may be times when I feel as though, like, and he's a very like strong-minded, you know, individual. So if there's times when I feel as though you need to push through, more often than not he will, unless there's, you know, extreme circumstance when he's adamant that he won't, but more often than not he will.
What, Jones, a question for you. What do you believe makes a great coach? We won't go too much into it, just literally a brief sentence. What makes a good coach?
I think, to me, collaboration. That's all I can say.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Let's not talk about left and right and center or the, you know what I mean, experience or whatever. Just collaboration. If there is no collaboration, you can fuck off. You cannot call yourself a coach. You need to collaborate with your lifters, no matter what. Because again, as you mentioned there, we live different lives, right? We got external factors. If me and you can't come to it's the same point, we can't come to a corner where we can actually agree with something, then it won't work, you know. And then it goes to where you just wait. Any lifters listening to this, I will say this: if your coach does not communicate with you, your coach does not collaborate with you, you're wasting your money. Literally, you're wasting your money. Save your money, go McDonald's or whatever. You might even probably fucking get strong eating Burger Kings every day than fucking listening to your coach. I mean, literally, you are wasting your money. Collaboration is key. If you cannot collaborate with your coach, just don't. You might just go to a weightlifter to coach you rather than being with a powerlifting coach. So,
Yeah.
What about you, Joe?
Well, to an extent, I agree. Collaboration is a really big thing, but the one thing that I would stipulate is that collaboration comes with experience. So, for example, too early on, I would say would not be beneficial in the long run, because at the end of the day, you're the coach, so you're the one, surveying what's happening to the lifter as an outside looking in, as opposed to an inside looking out. So with that sort of approach, you cannot really test what your lifter is capable of when they're asking for something too early on. It's within, just like any relationship, it grows into something, and that collaboration coming in a little bit later is what shapes and individualizes that lifter's programming, and that individualization really is when you could hit a stride with what works best for the lifter. So yeah, that's
Joey, what you said there, right? Look, I don't disagree with what you said, right? Early collaboration can be detrimental to the lifter because they don't understand what they want. But again, at the same time, the collaboration does not always have to be on the programming side or on what the lifter need to do. Again, what we mentioned there, if I have got an external factor that is affecting my training or some
of
reason,
course.
I mean, this is the type of thing I'm talking about. That's all constitute that collaboration I'm talking about. If your coach does not communicate with you, or you can't communicate with your coach, then something's wrong there. So you need to question, because there's a lot of lifter we're getting nowadays. Like, I got people in my DMs, I got people, friends or whatever I see every day. The problem they have is they have got these amazing coaches around them, but the communication is not there. As elite as we are, or as good as some of us are, it's always important to have that two-way communication. Because again, as much as I've done so many international, I've done so many nationals, I've done so many divisional in my life, I can potentially sit here and saying, okay, I got enough experience in powerlifting.
You did the Commonwealths
But
as well, don't forget.
exactly, Commonwealth champ. No, I didn't do it. I just won it. You don't forget that. So I have got all that experience, but still, every single block Joey design, I still don't know certain things. I have to ask him. I say, Joey, what is this? Why do I have to do this? Even though I've been with him all these years, I've done all of this. It's important that communication to be a two-way, not just like, because a lot of coaches, what they do nowadays, oh, I'm gonna get you your program. They send you your program. It's kind of like the job is done. I get it. If it's an online thing or there's no one-to-one, I understand, because some people their service is like that, isn't it? Nowadays, I'm getting all these things. Oh, online coaching. What the fuck is that? Anyway, and then the other thing was like, oh, I only see my client once, one-to-one once every month. How do you expect to teach someone a barbell work only when you see them once a month? You know what I mean?
I guess that's down to the lifter though. If that's how they want to function, then if that's how they want kind of service to have, then all the power to them. But obviously different needs for different lifters, and then obviously whatever the services are being offered around them,
Durance, do you reckon you've, like, with all the experience that you've got with Joey now, do you think that you've gained enough experience to become a coach yourself for like new lifters coming?
Not even close.
I'm not saying as in like, I'm not saying as in like, you've got an understanding where you can like pretty much do a copy and paste shit. I mean, as in like you kind of know how to develop now, because you know, like a lot of these lifters, I'm saying like they pretty much copy and paste, right? They'll go back to blocks like 20 blocks ago, and then they'll get that spreadsheet, then kind of like edit a couple of the reps themselves, and then they give it to new lifters. Because that's pretty much what we see nowadays, right?
I think I've gained enough experience. This is what I could probably say. I've gained enough experience over the years with Joey and over the years of me competing around the block. I've gained enough experience to feed back into someone's programming or someone training, but not me designing a program or a training for anybody. I've always been honest with people. I'm a lifter, and I love to see myself as a lifter. You know, I would never want to put myself in a position or see myself being a coach or see myself like a programmer. No. I've got my partner here that used to do powerlifting, but it's not Joey. No, Joey used to coach Sophie. There's no single day I came to Joey. Oh, Joey, can we put this into Sophie's programming? No, because that's not my expertise. You know, I do what I do best, which is the lifting.
Fair enough. All right, cool. So I think that's the topic done there, you know. I think that's pretty much. Actually, no. There was one more. I actually wanted to ask you. Speaking on coaches, right? What do you guys believe? What do you guys think on bodybuilders or like non-powerlifting coaches doing powerlifting programming? It could be strength athletes. It could be, you know, weightlifters, Olympic lifters, CrossFitters, bodybuilders, normal gym goers, gym bros, like creating their own kind of like blocks for powerlifters.
I feel as though it's almost nonsensical. Because like it's a sport specific that's being demanded of them, and if they've had little to no sort of know-how, not even experience, just know-how, knowledge even of the sport itself, they're gonna feel too influenced by what they're actually where they actually came from. So for example, you know, they're gonna think rep ranges as opposed to intensity, if that makes sense. If you're like a bodybuilder,
sets of 30.
Yeah,
drop sets.
not necessarily, but yeah, I mean there is a sort of a crossover into what they do in terms of what we powerlifters do, but the whole looking at the technical aspect, I don't know how that would even work really. Durance, what do you think?
I mean, my thought about it is this. I've always this is what I always thought about. If I have a headache, I would not go to a vet. Right? It's true. Because you said to me, you asking me, but anyone's listening was like, what is he talking about? A vet is for animals. I said, no. Before you call them a vet, they're all doctors. Right? They're all doctors.
That's true.
And then exactly, because the person that is a vet has a PhD.
Yeah.
Right? And the person that is in an NHS, in an emergency or whatever in my surgery has a PhD. They'll call themselves doctors.
Yeah.
But if I have a headache, I would not gonna go to a vet. I will go to my surgery here.
Yeah.
So the reality, that's my answer. So when I see a bodybuilder doing a powerlifting program, the only thing I'm seeing there is they just want to make money, because in bodybuilding there's no more money there.
Whoa.
Powerlifting is bringing money, because the reality is like the amount of, I don't want to talk about culture. I don't want to talk about people's pricing and all of that stuff. I know people say, oh, what are you talking shit? There's a lot of money in bodybuilding. Mate, powerlifting, we have coaches that charge between 100 to 350 pounds a month on programming. Right? So all I'm saying, if you have 10 clients, how much is that? $3,000 a month, right? In bodybuilding, tell me, apart from if you are an elite bodybuilders, all these people we see in Pure Gym, we see in Muscle Work or whatever, do you think those people have got clients that are paying them £300 a month on programming? Hell no. So the only way they can make money, let me start programming powerlifting because I'm
So
gonna get more clients.
I'm gonna say this one thing, right? So the numbers you said there are numbers that bodybuilders as coaches will probably see in a week. They charge minimum. We're talking.
Yeah,
100.
I said elite.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
no.
So you telling me where you train, right? Or let's say,
I'll give you an example. I'll give you a perfect
Go on.
example here, right? Without getting too much into detail. So where I'm based, right? The minimum you can charge is 75. Minimum. You can't charge any less. It has to be minimum of £75 a month, an hour.
Per session, yeah.
Per session, yeah. You can't charge any less. You have to understand as well that because they're paying rent, which is £1,200.
you do know I'm not talking about working in the gym, right? I'm talking about programming for people. Like we do online programming that powerlifting do.
Yeah.
I mean,
the same. Oh, okay. If we're talking about programming,
that's what I'm saying. I'm not talking about one-to-one thing.
Oh, okay. But even then, in terms of programming, bro, like honestly, I'm seeing pretty much the same. Like same as the powerlifters you're talking about that charge like some ridiculous 250. On average, I'm looking at about maybe 125 to 150 a month, and it's for very, very standardized like training. Like
the bodybuilding or the powerlifting?
Bodybuilding. Very standardized, like your typical, just your standard, like a back day would be bent over rows, lat pull downs, single arm rows, finish off with some hamstrings, you're done.
Literally. And these people have got a clientele around just as much as bodybuilding.
But you have to understand that it's about where you're doing these sessions, like what kind of people you targeting, like where are they based? If you're targeting people in very like, posh fucking places, like these rich clients, corporate clients, they'll pay anything, man. Like if you're paying, an example, if you're paying, I'll use this as an example. If you have the money to pay £140 for a gym membership a month, you don't really give a shit paying fucking £100 for one PT session, let alone £120 for 4 weeks of online training. You know what I mean? So it all depends where you're based. I think outside of London, it's going to be a lot cheaper because cost of living is a bit different. But in London, in London in general, you can charge anything, man. You can charge whatever.
But bring it back to the question you asked. To me, I do not agree with it. Bodybuilders should stay on their lane and powerlifters should stay on their lane. Simple as that. They should not be programming powerlifting. And because again, I think Joey touched a few points there. The mechanism behind the sport and all of that, they would not understand it.
Yeah, it's like me saying I could coach a weightlifter. I can't.
No.
I think the only good thing, the only positive thing that I think that the bodybuilders can bring to powerlifters, to newbies, is building a good foundation. In terms of like working on specific weak points. Obviously, you can do that with like compounds and stuff, but in terms of like now, actually
you can't target the smaller muscle groups with compounds, as in like directly target the smaller muscle groups or smaller muscles even.
I reckon no, but like what I'm trying to get at here is this is my opinion. Obviously, everyone's completely different. I reckon, right, if you was to give a bodybuilder 12 weeks with a powerlifter, right, just to do specific bodybuilding stuff, that person, that lifter, would end up coming back to powerlifting a lot fucking stronger, a hell of a lot stronger. That's my honest opinion. And the only reason I say that is because I can only speak from experience. I've tried that out kind of like myself when I was with Tasha, and then she was doing a lot of stuff for me.
But were you still doing the compounds?
Not necessarily, because I was injured. I couldn't even squat. That's when I did my spine leading up to Euros. Bro, I couldn't do anything.
And then you came back stronger.
I was able to deadlift and squat, and that's when I squatted 230. And that's by just using the belt squat. Just little things like that, but that's just being able to tweak certain movements and just adapt to training. But that was just by doing a lot of bodybuilding specific stuff. So I'm not saying I'm not sitting here saying that you don't need to do compounds to get stronger. Sorry, that you have to do compounds to get stronger. I'm just saying that there are a lot of other training methods out there that can still allow you to get a lot more stronger. As opposed to just powerlifting specific stuff. Because obviously, this is a perfect example here. If you bring in a newbie powerlifter, right, that has no experience in the gym that just goes straight into an SPD, those little skinny boys, right? They're gonna break. They have no foundation. They have no like. But then you see these other guys that have been bodybuilding from day one, and then they get into powerlifting. They have that base.
It's kind of like it's kind of like those who came from a sport like rugby, football, or any of the athletics, moving into another sport will always excel that much better because they have that foundation. They not only are they physically like fitter than just like just an average Joe that's never like trained in their life, but as well as that, they also already have like what it's like to have a regimen or have a routine and be disciplined about it. So that's what makes them that just more better. Also what you were saying, how the whole like if a bodybuilder was to train a lifter and then move them back to powerlifting, I agree. They can be stronger because they have pretty much the hardware to move X amount of weight because they built the foundation. It's just that's why I said like there's a huge cross section between bodybuilding and powerlifting whereby you need to have the mass, the lean muscle mass, the muscles to move the weight. The actual powerlifting movements itself is just what those muscles can do in a specific movement, and that's when you sort of sharpen that movement and you do your SPDs along the week or any of the compound movements even.
I think again, I think when a bodybuilder does a powerlifting programming, on the initial question you asked, I think to me, thinking about it now is, yes, initially you can get strong, right? They can get you really strong, as you mentioned there, especially if you're doing bodybuilding, coming back to powerlifting, you'll get strong, yeah. But it will reach a time where they can't crack that development anymore. What are they going to do next? Because in powerlifting, like me and Joey, especially like leading to Malta, what we've done is almost like forced that development, because there was always a time where you think like, oh, I think my squats hit a plateau. I think my deadlift has hit a plateau. So that's when a powerlifting coach, I'm talking about powerlifting because I'm not talking about those kids we're seeing selling program online. No, I'm not talking about that. I don't call them coaches, right? I'm talking about a knowledgeable powerlifting coach that has experience. Sit there and think, okay, what can I do to force development into this lifter? Because it's harder for an lifter, as myself, to add 2.5 or even 5 kilo on the lift. It's very hard. It's easy for anyone that's starting yesterday. We've seen it. Like, look, we've seen James Hadcock done it in the 93s. What he did, the development was fucking insane. And Nathan is doing it. He did it this year. But you will reach an age where, man, you can't even find that 5 kilo. So that's when a very good coach comes in and help you how you can unlock that 2.5 kilo. So to me, I believe if my coach was a bodybuilder, how would my coach be able to know how to unlock that 5 kilos? That the one that I can't gain anymore. That's where I'm thinking. That's when I said in the beginning, like, to me, I just believe a vet should be a vet, a normal doctor should be a normal doctor. That's it.
That was the best comparison, honestly.
I wasn't expecting it. I was just like,
no, literally,
when he went, if I had a headache.
I knew something was coming. I knew something was coming.
So the other thing as well, let me flip the question to you guys. This has been going on into my head, right? And again, I'm not slamming people charging powerlifting coach programming here. I'm not slamming on them at all, because I know it's a business. It has become people bread and butter, right? And I know a lot of people that this is their full-time thing. They are coaches, full-time coaches. No Islam on them, but it's just a few things I've seen over the years. It's just I don't still understand it until today. So what do you guys think an average powerlifting coach should charge for programming? Minimum.
I think honestly, under £100, no more than 100. I reckon. That's me.
I think the price point should be determined by what they can actually offer. I'm not just talking about in the sense of like the qualifications they have or anything, but man, I would say those that understand a lifter best, I feel maybe it's just me, but those that understand a lifter and the lifter's mindset best are those that I feel as though can warrant a bit by charging that much more, if that makes sense. Because, like, you know, we've all been doing the sport for a good few years, and we all know that nothing happens overnight. You know, like Durance would have added, you know, whatever he totaled back in 2018 up to now overnight. It's that longevity. Like if you're charged if a lifter's paying money to a coach, and then you can almost immediately tell like longevity ain't there, then yeah, you're being overcharged.
But so you said the charge should warrant to how much a coach understand the lifter.
Can
right?
understand a lifter, yeah.
Can understand the lifter.
But
okay.
but how will the lifter know that when they're gonna sign up?
Oh, I mean that's when you do your homework. That's when you do your homework and just be looking like, okay, cool. So this lifter's been coached by this, you know, person for X amount of years. What's their progression like? And it's not just the one lifter. What about the other lifters? That's a sort of like track record to have. Kind of like, you know, like with what's it called? Like coaches in football. Like if they have the recipe or what makes them win, like what football teams win, then you know that they're a good coach. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time as well, right?
Like what Pep's doing to Man City. Come on, bro.
So if you have because then we have coaches, like I've known coaches that around the world that have got so many lifters, right? So many lifters. How do you expect that coach to kind of understand every single one of them?
I mean, it's their full-time job. It's on them to understand their lifters.
So if you say that, like, okay, because I understand my lifters, let me slam £500 a month because I understand my lifters.
Bro, I mean, obviously there's the basic economics of it all. Like, you know, there has to be a supply and demand. If the demand for it is enough, then the supply can be manipulated, if that makes sense. So, man, if you're that much of a really fantastic, fucking amazing coach, then maybe you can charge 500 and no one would bat an eyelid. I mean, look at like the fitness world with PTs. Like some of them are charging £100 for an hour. So what? 5 hours with them is like £500, bro.
There's people that buy packages, like literally a package is 1,200, and they have to use that within a month. Imagine.
Me and my point is when it comes to these, you know, those people you said is a full-time employee like myself, a professional like myself, that work makes money and all of that, like all of us, you can go and get these PT and pay that amount of money, and probably it's not gonna hurt you. It's fine because you can afford it. Do you know what I mean? But when it comes to powerlifting, my own problem that I can't comprehend in my head is there are kids that are just starting university or just coming out of university, getting their first time job, but coaches are there slamming them with the prices of powerlifting programming.
That's
Do you know what I mean?
like as sad as it sounds, it's on the lifter. I mean, if they're gonna say that, you know, that's what they want to invest in, knowing that that's the pricing for that coach, then go for it. I mean, if that's too much, then just be real with yourself and go to another coach that may charge less.
But in general, should coaches be a little bit more lenient in terms of like the pricing, cater the pricing to the lifter? Basically, look at what the lifter comes with. You know what I mean? And almost adjust it to their personality or to their need.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I would agree in the sense that, you know, some coaches may charge less if they were coaching students, you know, like you said, are in uni where I guess money is tight. But same again, man. I don't think it's on the coach to charge that should charge less or should charge more.
That's kind of like saying, right, if you're in the sales role, right, and if you land this big client, you get 20% commission, but you're so desperate to get this client because you want him, so you just settle for 5% because you want to land him.
Yeah,
but then you're taking home 5%. Like, is that really worth it?
yeah, exactly.
If you knew that you would actually, no, you know what? It's not even commission at this point. It's not commission because technically it's their actual wage. So it's like you saying, right, I normally charge £100, but I see you're just starting uni, you know what? Just for you, I'm gonna do 35.
See, that's why I hate the just for you business.
Yeah.
I think it should be fixed for coaches.
The problem with that, the problem with this though, is that once you start the whole, but for you it'll be £35. Best believe that this lifter is now going to tell a couple of their friends, oh, they charge me 35, and that word goes around, and now all of a sudden that specific coach is now seen as you can easily just haggle your way with this coach and get £35. It just, you lose that credibility. You know what I mean?
I think to me, when it comes to powerlifting, I still have my reserve in terms of the pricing I hear across the board. I still believe powerlifting is not a sport that is warrant for people to charge as much as they charge. Do you know what I mean? And especially it's what's the word?
How much do you think Jones they should charge? Average.
Average, I believe average should be 50 quid a month.
50 quid?
50 quid a month.
I might as well just have to sell my house then, bro. I'll just get rid of it.
Please
let me tell Tasha, baby, we're moving out.
bro, you know there's a job center close to you, but not too far. So you can get...
What's the rationale behind 50?
The rationale behind 50 is this, right? Powerlifting first of all, is a self-funded sport. There's no money into the sport, right? It's not a sport. It's an amateur sport, right? It's not a sport that is warranted £250, £300 or £400 a month. No way. You know.
Well, hold up. While you're there, so what warrants a PT getting £100 an hour?
A PT is PTing people that are already professional. They earn money. Me, I can go to a PT and pay £100 because that £100 don't mean shit to me.
So why?
Because I make money.
Why the 50 for, say, for example, like yourself? You know, you have a full-time job.
Yeah. I have a full-time job, right? If it was £100, I'll pay £100. The £50 I'm talking about, we said minimum, is because that £50 will cover every single individual, even those that are struggling financially.
So because of others that can't afford it, you're saying that coaches should charge less?
No, I'm not saying that coaches. I'm saying minimum should be 50 quid.
Minimum.
So that's 50. Yeah, minimum should be 50 quid.
Okay, so what's the maximum?
The maximum can be whatever, right? But all I'm saying, the minimum. That's why I said to you, like, what's the minimum do you think powerlifting programming could be? Because I know if you charge a minimum, we're going to bring more people into the sport. And lifters, and those new lifters are coming to the sport, they're just going to be choosing now the lifters they know they will help them grow. Not just because of the pricing. Because at the moment, big lifters, big coaches, kids can't go to them because they can't afford them. But these are the people that can actually help them. And people ending up, that's what we see, all these things, we're seeing like all these online programming for free. Because the pricing of powerlifting is high.
All right, I've got a question here, right? Joey, how long does it take you roughly to do Jones programming for the 4 weeks? And we'll just conclude it for 4 weeks here, just for sake.
It depends. If it's a whole new approach.
It's a brand new block.
Brand new
4
cycle.
Weeks. How long does it take you to do that block, the 4 week cycle?
4 hours.
Okay, 4 hours. Cool. And then you do weekly check-ins, right?
No, it's not weekly. It's almost day to day.
Do you have any check-ins though?
Yeah, there's check-ins.
It's almost day to day.
Okay. How long do you normally spend on them check-ins? Like on WhatsApp? Do you spend like 20 minutes, an hour, maybe talking?
It's as needed. It's as needed.
Let's just calculate throughout the whole week. How long do you reckon in that week have you guys communicated? If you was to add all them minutes up within a week, how long would you say?
Just in terms of like the check-ins?
Just the check-ins.
Probably like 4 or 5 hours.
Cool. We'll just leave it at that, right? So you divide the £50 that Jones has just paid for the 10 hours. You're basically saying that Joey's worth £5 an hour.
Yeah, minimum wages. That's like all the minimum wages. Anyway, all I'm saying,
that's what I'm trying to say. There's a lot of work though that goes into it.
The example of me and Joey is probably not I could probably say it's not the right one because the level of the lifter I am, it requires these kind of things. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes because like I'm going to world now, so he require for him to be really close to my peak and programming now because I'm going to one of the biggest battle. I'm just saying like if someone's starting in the beginning, right, like a little kid that start powerlifting yesterday, you're probably not going to spend that many hours every week with them. Do you know what I mean?
Not
So in
necessarily.
terms of
No. I can counter that. Durance, you of all people know, I'm not going to name any names, but these juniors, there's some annoying fucking kids that constantly talk. There are going to be a lot of juniors, right? Or a lot of young people in general, not even young. There'll be a lot of people in general, right? That when they first start up with a new coach, they're going to be asking so many questions because they don't know what certain movements are. Joey might program, I don't know, a single leg RDL, and they'll be like, what the fuck is that? How do I do that movement? Like, what? There'll be a lot more questions involved. You're an experienced lifter. And even as an experienced lifter that you are, you're still spending 5 hours in check-ins with Joey. Now, can you imagine a brand newbie? Now Joey's going to be worth from £5 an hour to £2.50 an hour. That's not even a Happy Meal. You're taking a piss. And that's my reason as to why it can't be £50.
How do you expect for us to bring more people into the sport?
Durance, have you seen all these?
The price point for a coach and how you bring people into a coach should not have any correlation whatsoever.
Yeah, why would it not? Why would it not? For me,
because coaches don't bring in new people. It's the lifters that bring in new people.
Okay. Typical example. People see the way I lift, right?
Yeah.
They go like, oh yeah, Durance is a really good lifter. So who coaches Durance is Joey. And they're going on Joey website, Joey charge, let's say, just an example. Oh, £200 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And this person will be like, oh shit, £200 a month. No, I can't afford that. So yeah, might just go to the gym, to pure gym every single day. That's wanted to do this sport.
That's a half cup empty sort of mindset though. They could really want the coaching that would help them and find a way to make that
what do you
mean
find a way? If I'm still got my exam at uni and I can't do another
look, stop, you need to stop talking about like uni people. I'm talking about the general public, right? If they're spending mad money on, I don't know, couple of pints like every other day, bro, and then instead save that up for like £200 a month for a coach that would benefit them in the sport that they're gonna enjoy, that they know they're gonna enjoy, that's an investment, not like money down the drain. I'm not shitting anyone that likes a good few pints here and there, but come on, bro. If you're doing it every night at the pub and you still want to be a serious powerlifter, you got different like mentality going on.
Mm-hmm. You mean a sport that's gonna cripple them in their bank so they can go bankrupt. Anyway, all I'm saying is like these people that earn money, they can afford coaching, then they can pay whatever.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I'm just an advocate of people that can't afford these big coaches, but they want to be coached by these big coaches. We need to have some kind of like a middle ground here.
But then that's when there's a bunch of different types of coaches out there. You've got your good I'm not even going to say good coaches. You have your coaches that coach great athletes like yourself. And there's other coaches out there that have really good athletes and stuff. Then you've got other coaches that don't necessarily have the best athletes. Fair enough. But they still have athletes, right? That are,
yeah, it's kind of like a tiered. It's kind of like a tiered system, isn't it?
Yeah. So it all depends on the individual. If the individual doesn't want to work with Joey because he's charging £200, that's fine. The athlete can easily go to hundreds of other coaches in the UK, or online coaching can be anywhere in the world. There's countries everywhere.
So that brings me to the point we made earlier. That means we shouldn't be sitting here and start giving our opinion on people. Everybody want to be coaches. Because these people, everybody want to be coaches. Only people going to them is because those people can't afford others.
No. But the only reason we're saying that is because new lifters need to be very aware with who they're being coached by. Because there are people that know absolutely nothing, and it's just basically just copy and paste. So me personally, before I get a coach, you have to do your research. I do my research. I see which coaches if they've been coached themselves, how long they've been in the sport for, who they coaching.
It's due diligence, isn't it? It's your due diligence.
Because honestly, if I was to do something like, I don't know, that's the thing. If we all had that mentality of, if Durance is being coached by Joey, everyone's going to go with Joey. because you are probably one of the best in the world at 83s. No, like, you know, it is what it is. But not everyone has that mentality. People want to be coached by different people. People may not have the funds, and it is what it is. But what we're trying to get at is, if you can't afford it, it's not going to kill us. Why should we have to drop our prices to cater for other people? It shouldn't be that.
Durance's point is to bring more people into the sport. But just because a specific lifter cannot afford a specific coach, it does not mean that that lifter will be down on his luck, never finding a coach. They will. It just won't be the first pick coach. Might not even be the second. Yeah.
It's kind of like gyms, isn't it? You're tiering gyms. You have your pure gyms that are very cheap, that anyone can afford. Then you have your very expensive gyms like Equinox and all that. And if you have the money to pay for those gyms, you can do. And if you don't, then go for the pure gyms. But you'll see a difference, like a very big difference. But I'm not saying that it doesn't mean that you don't have to do it. You can still get a coach, but it's not going to be a good coach, a great coach. You know what I mean?
You watch all the elite coaches. They will listen to this. The next day, their prices will go up because Espin and Joey back them up. So watch.
However, I still personally believe if you're the best coach in the whole fucking universe, and you're charging £300 as a lifter, you're rich. Congrats, because Jesus Christ, that is a lot of money. But if you have the money for it, enjoy it. Fucking spend it. But boy, £300. Huh. Do you know how many monsters I can buy with 300?
How many pints is there in 300, mate? Anyway, what was the next topic? Yeah, was what was it?
SPD Saturdays.
SPD Saturdays.
What about it?
Do you guys do SPD Saturdays?
Not just on Saturdays.
SPD
at the end of the week.
In general, yeah.
At the end of the week. Personally, I think it's just a natural advent into what powerlifting is. It's sort of what's the word? It's sort of it pretty much mimics what happens on a comp. So it's practice for it. It's I wouldn't say it's absolutely necessary. I would never say it's absolutely necessary because say for example a bigger lifter, if they're having to do that week in, week out, man, that accumulation alone is gonna ruin them in a block's time or in a cycle's time for any prep.
So when we said SPD Saturday, do we said singles on Saturday?
Oh yeah, is it like heavy singles, doubles, triples, and shit like that?
You know, I don't think they actually said in the questions. They just
it's just SPD on a Saturday or SPD.
But for the sake of it, I'm gonna say singles, then probably back downs as well for all three.
I think to me, as a lifter, I think as much as we've done all these comps and these many comps around, you always have to practice your lift, right? And almost have that comp mentality on a single given day. I'm not saying ignore other days and just don't lift to comp spec, but some people don't have equipment on a day-to-day basis to actually have that comp spec equipment. Some people lift to bumper plate on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and probably weekend, that's when they have to travel a bit far to get in leg or road plate. Do you know what I mean? So to me, that's fine. If they have to travel on that day, probably because Sunday, because they work, and Saturday is the only day they can travel to go and get the comp kit and they hit the singles SPD, that's fine. But it's because it's becoming a trend, as Joey says, it's becoming a trend. Like everybody knows, on Saturday I'm gonna lift heavy. On Saturday I'm gonna be here lift heavy. It's more like I'm gonna PB every Saturday. Does it really help? I don't think so. You know, I mean, me, for my program, for my training, I've never used to do SPD on the last day of my training. It's only been incorporating now for the past for the past year or so. It's just because it just like cater to what block I am on. How does that block entail? Because it's, for instance, like I normally have a tough Monday. My Mondays are ridiculous, and my Wednesday are even worse. So these two, and sometimes I do have an SPD on Wednesday. So my Wednesday is worse, but I go in SPD. So would we do heavy when those days are really horrible? No, because I need to recover. That's what sometimes we intend to do the heavier volume SPD sessions on the last day. We don't call it Friday. We don't call it Saturday. We just call it for the fourth day. We don't know when that fourth day is going to be. It could be a Wednesday. It could be a Thursday. It could be a Saturday or a Sunday. You know, so but the whole idea about all these Saturday trend I'm seeing on social media, I'm not a big fan of it because a lot of people are following it just because, oh yeah, last day of the week is Saturday, let me go and lift heavy. And it's like, I'm on a PB on Saturday. Next Saturday, I'm on a PB. And then the weight is incrementing every Saturday. But are those lifts actually growing? Or is it just they're doing it for the sake of the ego?
It could be growing in training, but then come comp day, it doesn't.
I mean, we've seen it. We've seen it.
But then yeah, go on.
Yeah, go on. No, go on.
I personally feel like you don't need it. You don't need to do SPD. I mean, the only thing I would say, and this is just personally for me, like I tend to, before I deadlift, I have to squat. And that's just me. I know Indy's the same as well. This is why I wish Indy was here actually, because he would have loved this one.
Mm-hmm.
But before I deadlift, I need to squat. That's just how it is. And also, if you deadlift fresh, it doesn't really mimic what's going to happen on comp day, realistically. I mean, I do deadlift on Tuesdays fresh, but then on Saturdays, there's a lot of volume, and then with squats, and then I deadlift. But ideally, you don't necessarily need to do a full SPD. Also, we need to take in consideration, a lot of people don't have a lot of time. A lot of people have fucking grown-ass shit to do.
Yeah.
So we don't have fucking 4 or 5 hours in the gym to be doing this. And if you are going to do a full SPD, like for example, me, I need to make sure that shit's done within 2 hours, at least max. Or I'm going to come home and Tasha's going to kill me because I took too long and shoot me in the head.
Because the other thing, right, talking about the timing, I think a lot of powerlifters are giving some of us a bad name when it comes to our training.
Oh, 100%.
Right? People think even these memes and funny videos I see on social media, comparing a powerlifter to a CrossFitter or to a bodybuilder. Powerlifters can literally go and make a cup of coffee between set. No, mate, it's not that. It's not a cup of coffee. Yes, fair enough. We rest for like 2-3 minutes sometime to get a little bit of our breath back and go back in. But some of us go timers in our gyms. I have a timer in my gym when I go in SPD, whether it's a volume or singles. If it's a singles, within an hour and a half, I'm out of there. Whatever I need to do, an hour and a half, I'm out. If it's volume, it's 2 hours. I can't do more than
Sorry,
that.
I was on mute for some reason. I just want to touch on that, like I would, okay, so when Durance does the SPDs at the end of the week that I program him, it's actually just been like so because he's literally been on back to back prep. When he's on off season, the SPD like so at the end of the week rarely is the case. It's just if it's as needed, if that makes sense. So if you're not prepping something and you have a long off season, that time could be devoted to like other things that you can improve on. That's just my take. I could be wrong. Other coaches may have different mindsets on this. That being said, though, another thing about these SPD Saturdays that keeps popping up, like Durance knows this, his rest periods are programmed. So, like these lifters that may or may not take like 10, 15 minutes between sets, that can't even run with Durance. Like he knows if he's having to hit a certain intensity, the rest periods are so.
Is that one of the main reasons why you train at home then? That must be a big factor as to why you train at home then, right?
I just train at home because it's more convenient for me in terms of like my external life and external factors.
Yeah.
I just feel like
no, but it's the same when we've trained at, powering through at Gymshark at wherever.
It's the exact same thing. I mean, as you said, my rest time is programmed. I can't even spend more than the time that is being prescribed because there's a reason for that, right? So I have my volume. Sometimes it's programmed by 1 minute. Sometimes it's 2 minutes. I can be dead. I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to go and fucking score 260 again in 2 minutes. But it's there. It's written on the program and I can't do nothing about it, So these people that when they go to the gym, they're spending 5-10 minutes for between set. I just don't know, because it's not just realistic. That's not what all powerlifters do. So
I
now
mean,
the trend is that what everybody does.
obviously I get it when the gym is a bit busy and you kind of have to cater to, you know, your surroundings. But I mean, if you're within control of what you need to do, then you have no excuse.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
But
So
yeah,
in
well,
conclusion,
yeah, what
oh,
was the conclusion again?
what do you mean?
Like the conclusion oh yeah, you're about to get to it. Sorry, go on.
Oh no. I was gonna say, just in conclusion, it's not really needed. Pretty much, it's just that it's become a hype more than anything, realistically.
Yeah, it's social media. It is
Yeah,
social
it's,
media,
it's,
and then some people, they believe they have to do it to boost their confidence in terms of like, okay, I did 4 days this week or 3 days this or whatever. The last day I'm gonna have to go SPD heavy and see. But you're forgetting, actually, you learn. Me as an international lifter, I've learned more about my lifting when I have less weight on the bar and I got more reps. That's when I've learned. When I load all these amount of weight I load on the bar from my squat, every time I load anything over 280, I don't learn anything about it. Realistically, I don't. That's the data for Joey. He has the data for that in terms of like how many the speed of the bar, in terms of like how many reps I'm doing, how many set I'm doing. That's the data for him. But me personally, I'm not learning nothing. The only thing I'm doing is in my head is I just hope I don't die with this and I survive. Literally. I know it's not an advice I should be saying to anyone to follow, but when you go 280 kilo on your back and you are 83 kilo body weight, you got 3-4 reps to do. The only thing you'll be thinking, you don't even be thinking about, oh, let me learn how to lift this. No, you'll be thinking, let me fucking survive. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, that's me there. So it's not needed. It's all dependent on the lifters, and you know what I mean, and the ego and the personalities as well. Personality play a massive part though, because a lot of lifters we see nowadays with these SPD Saturday, I don't even think they coach programming. I don't even think coaches do that.
They're probably paying
They,
£300.
yeah, I know. You just go to your coach. Hey, can I do an SPD Saturday heavy? Oh yeah, he's paying
Yeah.
me £300. If he's paying me £300, if I say no, he might go to a different coach. Oh yeah, just do it.
Do what you want.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's nuts. But nice and easy one today, boys. Nice and
Yeah.
simple one today. Just 2 simple topics. I don't know if there's anything you guys wanted to quickly drop.
No, I think we pretty much managed to say what we wanted.
Just for all the listeners, we do have some epic news coming soon. That's all we're gonna say here. Just so you guys know.
Yeah.
You guys know what I'm talking about. But we're gonna leave that.
Of course. Yeah, of course. But yeah, well, for anyone that's listening up to this part, you know,
look at
share,
George's
like,
face.
subscribe.
No. I want people to literally focus on my face, Jordan. Hopefully you can zoom in to this segment. Big fucking news. News that's gonna shock the fucking world. And when I mean the world, I mean every single person.
You'll be shocked. So
in powerlifting.
But probably the news we can give is next week we might be having Tony Cliff with us.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Tony Cliff will be jumping in. He'll be like going in with this as well, and all the news will be revealed. Because boy, you don't want to miss this next episode. It's gonna be nuts.
Yeah. But anyways, everyone will catch you in the next one, and I hope you enjoyed listening in. See ya.
Peace out, guys.